Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And just when you thought the craziest day of Rostermania in Call of Duty history was over, an absolute nuke hits the timeline. OpTic, Dallas merger, what is even going on? What are the implications here for Call of Duty's future? Also for OpTic and Dallas themselves, so much to dissect here over the coming minutes. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. Over 700 new subscribers yesterday or something incredible. Let's keep that train rolling. There is obviously no better time to subscribe than probably the craziest period we've seen in COD history, at least well in living memory, to be honest. Clayton says this: I thrive on the chaos. It is certainly chaotic right now. Let's dive into this then. So of course Sky says, look, can't believe it, good heavens, am I even safe out of the mutineers? Because look, who knows what's going on with these other rosters and other organizations. There's so much happening right now with OpTic and Dallas that these other teams are sitting on the sidelines thinking, okay, what do even we do next year? And what does this mean for us as a team? Like, what players can we potentially acquire off the market? So many questions that arise. But of course the main stuff is around, well, Crimsix and OpTic and Dallas. Certainly a lot to dissect today. Very much intrigued to your thoughts down below, as usual, but well, especially right here. This from COD Gamepedia, right? Crim answered a FaceTime from Zuma, didn't want to be shown on the stream. There was obviously some baiting going on right here, because you can see Crimsix with the bricks in the background. There's some bricks over here outside Scump's house. I guess, well, one brick equals number 2 brick, and therefore they're in the same place. But what is actually happening between, well, Dallas and OpTic is, well, far crazier than just Crimsix, I guess, returning over there. At least, well, overthinking ours, hashtag brick by brick. This is what ILLey has to say about the Dallas Empire team. Appreciate everything poured to that. Crimsix, of course, Reese, that being Vivid, of course, did for the team. Sucks we couldn't get the result we all wanted. Wish nothing but the best for those two. Excited for what the future holds. And what does the future hold? But this, as Crone comes out with last night. This is, honestly, remarkable stuff. Sources: Dallas Empire in talks to acquire the OpTic brand. Chicago Call of Duty League slot is going to be up for sale. Potential roster would be Scump and Dashy from OpTic Chicago, Shotzzy and ILLey from Dallas Empire. Latest for Esports reporting with Jacob Wolf. I'm pretty sure Jacob Wolf is involved here to kind of verify some of these sources, make sure this is indeed what is going on right now. So much to go through here, of course. We're going to talk about this roster. We're going to talk about what it means for Crimsix, Call of Duty more generally, but this is what the article has to say first of all. So a multi-pronged deal is being discussed that, if completed, would see OpTic and Dallas merge and the Chicago COD spot be sold to a third party. Paperwork yet to be finalized. Discussion is heated up as Hex looks to break off from NRG. So of course, after he sold OpTic, I guess, to Immortals or whatever, and that whole situation went down, he then joined NRG and formed Chicago Huntsman during the Modern Warfare season, acquired back the OpTic Gaming intellectual property, and was able to rebrand that team, and then kind of wants to split off from NRG Esports in the arrangement that they have. But turns out that NRG is kind of acquired to help fund this team and keep it profitable, as we'll look over here in just a second. But what it would mean is that Empire and OpTic would come under the same ownership and would likely result in the retirement of the Empire brand, with Call of Duty League's Dallas team adopting the OpTic name. That would be, of course, OpTic Dallas. Hex would then help control the team alongside Empire owner Envoy Gaming's management, including longtime friendly rival Mike Hastro Rafael. What an incredible storyline this would be, for better or for worse. This, of course, comes out the COD League, well, specially approved a deal. This was later in the article. If you want to check the entire thing out, of course, it'll be linked down below. Would see Hex responsible for payroll and operations cost of OpTic and avoid the traditional vetting process imposed by the league for an acquirer. So seemed like, well, Hex maybe had an arrangement that he could actually just pay for this team himself. But it seems like he couldn't end up paying these costs. NRG had to step back in and fund the team, and left the two at a bit of an impasse right there until Envy entered the picture. Now the Chicago slot is for sale without the OpTic brand attached, and Hex is attempting to facilitate a deal for the OpTic brand to head south to Texas. And of course, with all the other things going on, players getting dropped from both of these teams left, right and center, that leaves 4 players left to be part of what would be OpTic Dallas: Scump, Dashy, Shotzzy and ILLey. Remarkable scenes, and of course that also leaves the Chicago spot up for sale, potentially to one of the acquirers that we looked at here a few days ago that have certainly been hinting some sort of return to the Call of Duty League. Ridiculous situation, no doubt. So much to dive into right here. Of course, first of all, I guess we're going to have to look at this roster and, well, how good they could potentially be. This is, well, Lineman puts together. OpTic Dallas could look exactly like this. So Scump and Dashy, I mean, like, first of all, this is just completely ridiculous. And, like, I was never expecting this to be the case. If I had to predict the 3rd and 4th players for OpTic after Envoy was dropped and Formal kind of retired, then, like, I would not have predicted it was going to be Shotzzy and ILLey in some sort of crazy merge of OpTic and Dallas. So, okay, first of all, I guess we can look at this squad. Scump and Shotzzy as the SMG Joe. That is pretty deadly. To be fair, Shotzzy at the end of the year wasn't necessarily running that kind of entry sub, while Vivid was more doing that. But at the start of the year, Shotzzy was kind of doing that for Huke. I'm sure, like, his playstyle would fit pretty perfectly into that type of role. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if Shotzzy is actually kind of the perfect SMG Joe to Scump in a lot of ways. I mean, already that's very scary. Then you've got Dashy and ILLey. Like, first of all, looking at this team, this is like an S&D God squad to be honest. Okay, S&D KDs actually aren't so solid across the season right here, but Scump was particularly good in search this year. But Dashy and ILLey have been running the S&D scene for like years at this point, and Shotzzy will be there as well. You've also got to consider maybe that Dallas have coach Rambo, right? So maybe Rambo and Cinder now becomes the, kind of the analyst coaching type duo ship they've got going on over there, which might make more sense, right? And it would certainly make sense for Rambo to stay, and I think this team could do a lot of good things with his support from the coaching side. I mean, ILLey, of course, I guess would be the flex player. Dashy might be the main AR. That might be where all these players are most comfortable. So this squad is pretty scary. Seems like teams are trying to put together the Avengers to try and take down FaZe. This could be one of the absolute god squads that is being formed right now. But still does have some question marks, right? Where's the clear in-game leader? Do these players all work perfectly in these roles? It's do they have the discipline, right, that we thought OpTic might indeed need? So still some questions about this team, and of course, far from being confirmed anyway, whether this is indeed going to be the case. This did come out from TJ though, 2 Blue Van. This is something he likes to say apparently because ILLey, like the way he pronounces 2 Blue Van call out or something is kind of entertaining. So whenever they're playing in a tourney or something, TJ will come and say this in the chat of Dashy's stream, and he says it on the timeline and since deleted as well. So maybe this is an indication they are indeed once again teaming up. So as Octane says, the entire league's assembling the Avengers to try and take down FaZe, but Simp says, look, all that for a drop of blood. You guys still are getting close to, Atlanta FaZe and the scary team that they indeed have, but teams are certainly trying. Now this, of course, is another angle on it, which is like, look, at the end of the day, OpTic versus Envy, which is now OpTic versus Dallas Empire, has been one of the, if not the biggest rivalries in Call of Duty history throughout its entire history. The fact that they would now be teaming up with each other as a long-term Call of Duty fan just seems kind of strange, right? Like, that's a great rivalry that we've had, and now they're effectively going to be on the same side. Hastro's OpTic as Mutineers tweet out right here, which is just such a strange situation to even be thinking about, but this does indeed look like it is going to be the case. What do you guys think about that if you're long-time Call of Duty fans? Because I think the Envy versus OpTic rivalry, the E-Classico, is legendary. Now they're kind of on the same team. Certainly puts a lot of pressure on the new organizations that come in, if there's only one or if there's two or whatever, if there's some sort of buyout situation that happens elsewhere, to actually, build a big fan base and a big brand, because you kind of lose that by merging these two teams together. So on one side it's kind of good, on one side is I kind of going to miss this rivalry, and it's kind of strange to see how this whole thing might transpire. And this of course is another question mark, as OpTic Dallas logo fan made. I'm not sure OD is necessarily the best logo to put together, but that's another question mark, right? Like, what does the branding look like going forward? Of course, look, Hex was never going to go into a deal where OpTic can be retained as the name, but OpTic Dallas might make more sense. I mean, they're based in Texas, pretty much outside of Dallas anyway, so from a number of different perspectives, it does make a fair bit of sense. At the same time, I think it's a massive surprise that a merger like this can go through, to be honest. Like, maybe the CDL or Activision could even have stepped in and said, yeah, maybe we're not so happy with this, and maybe they still will, because you've got to think about the longevity of your league if you're creating kind of like a super team like this, and certainly some other teams have decent fan bases and decent brands, but allowing two of your biggest brands to merge together is certainly an interesting take. And I mean, as Crone says right here, the greatest rivalry in COD Esports history could be coming to an end, and not how anyone expected it to. OpTic fans and Envy fans next season kind of having to support the same team, and kind of a remarkable turn of events. So of course that is the team. The other question mark around this to me is the Crimsix question, right? Because he's obviously got to go somewhere. Ben Spoon over at Florida Mutineers says this: I wonder if Crimsix will unblock me now. Now he's kind of a restricted free agent on the market, potentially up for sale. But where will he potentially go? That is honestly a massive question. And also, if I'm Crimsix right now, I'm very frustrated indeed. This is kind of an interesting way to look at this. Of course, you can look at this in certain ways, right? But this is like how I kind of perceive it. Crimsix effectively got dropped a few years ago by Scump in 2019 after the Black Ops 4 season. Formal comes back into the squad for Modern Warfare. Crimsix goes elsewhere, gives the whole I'll forgive but I'll never forget type thing, and goes to Dallas, wins the World Championship, and does amazing things by building an organization up and teaming with these young and up-and-coming players. And now, in 2021, a couple of years later, he's effectively been dropped from the Dallas Empire for Scump to come in. Scump and Dashy, you can look at it, the fact that like Vivid got dropped for Scump and, Crimsix got dropped for Dashy, if you want to look at it from like the role perspective, but effectively, Crimsix gets dropped, Scump's coming in there, and now OpTic are swooping in and not necessarily taking his teammates and org in the sense that it's Dallas who are going to like own the thing, I imagine, and that's going to be the relationship that we just looked at, but it's OpTic who come in and take the name, right? So it's still going to be the OpTic Dallas, and Scump and Dashy are going to come in and like take the teammates in Shotzzy and ILLey that he's been working with and teaming with for the last couple of seasons, and I imagine wanted to team with going forward as well. So if you're Crimsix, I'd feel pretty hard done by here. I'd be pretty frustrated, let's just, put it mildly, and probably he is right now as well. So you can imagine he's got his revenge story and how he wants to approach this going forward brewing, and to be fair, even though we did talk about the fact that OpTic and Dallas, the fact that they are, splitting, merging, I guess, means that, we're going to have less organizations in the league to actually be rivalrous with. Crimsix is certainly going to be one player that's going to hop in there wherever he goes. The rivalry is going to be brewing, no doubt, with not just his old Empire teammates, but, I guess combined now with OpTic and, Scump, and the rivalry that they already had going on. So ridiculous situation. Of course, what it does mean is that there's that Chicago spot still up for grabs. We don't know really right now if the Paris spot is going to be sold to E United or something. That was a rumor that we talked about a couple of days ago. But we've also got that Chicago spot potentially being sold elsewhere. Where could that be? Of course, West to come out yesterday and say expansion. So people are saying, okay, could that be the case? Which isn't necessarily true. But if there is this merger, then effectively there is one more spot up for grabs. And with players like Formal stepping away from competitive play, that means there's, I guess, more spots up for grabs for other players to come into the scene as well. So ridiculous stuff. This comes out as well from Loony yesterday. So Rise Nation come in and say, what's up, coach? Reminiscing about old times. And, we look pretty damn good right here. So, of course, Loony played on Rise Nation to great success just a few years ago. And maybe now he's thinking about coaching, right? And could Rise Nation step back in? Certainly something they want to do. Whether they have the capital and resources to make that happen, I don't really know. And, well, another organisation which has been massively considered these last few days was Jacketti and over at Cloud9. And, well, replies to Crimsix's tweet right here. Could that be a possibility that the Chicago spot up for sale, Cloud9 help in and get that spot, and then they bring Crimsix onto their team, and that is now the storyline that happens, where Crimsix has effectively gone from Dallas to Chicago, but not from Envy to OpTic. I suppose you could look at it that way. Pretty ridiculous. I'm sure so much stuff about this is going to continue to come out over the coming days. We're going to be talking about this from days to come. Subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. Very much intrigued to get persuaded for the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.